Welcome to Maple Leaf Money, a Canadian-born movement for financial clarity. We simplify money, cut through the noise, and help you make informed choices that build confidence and long-term stability. Let's grow your financial literacy, one episode at a time. Today we're talking about inflation and why it matters more than many people realize. Most people understand that saving money is important. Saving gives you stability. It helps you handle emergencies. It gives you breathing room when life gets expensive or unpredictable. It helps you prepare for short-term goals and avoid living paycheck to paycheck. So saving absolutely matters. But saving by itself has a limitation over long periods of time, and that limitation is inflation. Inflation is the gradual rise in prices over time. When prices go up, each dollar buys a little less than it used to. Your money does not disappear, but its purchasing power slowly shrinks. You can see this in everyday life. A grocery bill that used to feel manageable now seems noticeably higher. Meals out cost more, gas costs more, travel costs more. Insurance, housing, repairs, and household bills all tend to rise over time. In many parts of life, the cost of living gradually moves upward. That matters because many people focus on how many dollars they have saved, but they do not always stop to think about what those dollars will still be able to buy in the future. That is an important difference. A person can be responsible. They can work hard, avoid waste, save consistently, and do many things right. But if the cost of living continues to rise while their money sits still, the value of that money quietly weakens over time. To make this easy to picture, let's use a simple example. Let's assume inflation averages 3% per year. At that rate, $100 of purchasing power today would shrink to roughly $97 after 1 year, about $91.50 after 3 years, about $86 after 5 years, and only about $74.40 after 10 years. That does not mean your $100 bill turns into a $74 bill. It means that the same $100 simply does not go as far as it once did. You are able to buy less stuff with that same $100, in other words. That is inflation at work. And this is why money management is not only about earning more or saving more. It is also about understanding what your money will be able to do for you later on. Now, inflation is not random, but it is also not fully predictable. It rises and falls based on what is happening in the economy, in supply chains, in energy markets, and in public policy. Sometimes inflation rises because people and businesses are spending strongly and demand grows faster than supply. More people are chasing the same goods and services, so prices move higher. Sometimes inflation rises because the cost of producing things goes up. Businesses might face higher costs for materials, fuel, shipping, wages, rent, or borrowing. When that happens, some of those higher costs often get passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Governments and central banks can also influence inflation through interest rates, public spending, and the overall flow of money through the economy. You do not need to become an economist to understand the basic point here. Inflation has causes, and those causes can change over time. That is why inflation does not stay at the same level forever. In some periods, inflation is fairly mild. In other periods, it rises more sharply because of unusual events like supply chain disruptions, wars, labor shortages, energy shocks, or sudden shifts in consumer demand. Then later, inflation may cool down again as supply improves or higher interest rates slow spending. So inflation can vary. But even when inflation seems moderate, it still matters. A slow leak can still empty a tire if you give it enough time. In the same way, even modest inflation can wear down the value of money year after year. Now, none of this means saving is pointless. Far from it. Saving is still essential. Cash savings help with emergencies, short-term goals, repairs, travel, job loss, or unexpected bills. A strong savings habit remains one of the foundations of financial stability. Saving gives you security. Saving gives you flexibility. Saving helps you stay calm and avoid unnecessary debt when life throws something unexpected your way. But saving alone is not always enough for long-term financial progress. Why? Because long-term goals often sit years into the future. Retirement, financial independence, helping your children, buying a home, having more freedom over your time and choices. Those goals require money not only to exist, but to keep some pace with the rising cost of living. If inflation keeps working against your money, then your money usually needs some way to grow over time as well. And this is where investing begins to matter. Investing is not only about trying to get rich. At its core, investing is about giving your money a chance to grow rather than letting it sit still forever. It is one of the main ways people try to stay ahead of inflation over the long run. That does not mean investing is risk-free, because it is not. And it also does not mean every dollar should be invested. Money you may need soon should usually stay safe and accessible. Your emergency fund still belongs in a place where you can reach it when needed. But for longer-term goals, many people eventually realize that saving by itself may not carry them far enough. They need growth too. That is really the bridge between saving and investing. Saving protects you in the short term. Investing helps protect your future purchasing power in the long term. If inflation is one of the quiet forces working against your money, investing is one of the main tools people use to push back against it. That is why understanding inflation matters so much. It helps explain why simply storing money is not always the full solution. It also helps explain why learning to invest is not just for the wealthy. It is an important part of helping ordinary people preserve and build financial strength over time. The goal is not to panic about inflation. The goal is to understand it. Once you understand that money can lose value while sitting still, you begin to see why wise financial habits need more than one layer. Earning matters, saving matters, spending wisely matters, but over the long run, growth matters too. And that is where the next stage of the conversation begins with our forthcoming episodes. We will be shifting into discussions around the basics of investing your money to help you get started. You've been listening to Maple Leaf Money, a Canadian movement for financial clarity. Every choice, every dollar, and every lesson builds toward a stronger future for you, your family, and our country. Subscribe, share, and help grow financial confidence from coast to coast to coast. Until next time, remember to continue to learn, earn, and grow.